Welcome back. We are about to talk to, or we actually did talk to at Shore Leave, Cliff Simon. Now, Miles, how are people going to know Cliff Simon again?
Because he played the baddest, smoothest system lord of all from Stargate.
And perhaps the sexiest, for that matter.
Well,
not that we'd ever say that out loud on the air.
But all I'll say is, you know, if a woman finds him attractive, I can understand why.
Right. And he comes from being a male model, right?
Right. And you asked him a great question about that. So
I'm not going to spoil it, but you got to check out this interview. It was really good with Cliff Simon. And so, I didn't check out his Facebook page, but we might have a second interview coming up with him come January about a new show that he's doing, if it takes off. So I need to check out a little bit more of his fan page about it. But without any further ado, Miles, SG-1, Stargate SG-1, you now have encountered Ball. How are you feeling about Ball?
He's definitely one of my favorite system lords. I'm now on a part where he is on Earth, and he is in a three-piece suit. He's a businessman, and you gotta love it. He's just cool. He's the man.
He is definitely the man, and I like him. So, without any further ado, here's Cliff Simon from SG-1, Stargate 1. That was, I guess, the Stargate show, and as a System Lord Ball. And here's our interview with Cliff Simon.
This one.
How do you know?
I'm a god. Gods are all-knowing.
Selmac can't work like this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are at Shore Leave 33, hanging out with Cliff Simon, who played probably the most evil, bad system lord in Stargate. And we get to talk to him today, which is really cool.
Thank you. That's a compliment. That's a compliment.
You know, he is, I think the character, what, is it Baal or Baal? How do you do
Ball.
Ball, that's right. So Ball, you know, I think him as an evil guy was probably one of the evil guys that I loved and hated at the same time. And that's what made him so great.
Yeah, I think that's what people found. That's why I stayed in the show so long, because he was one of those characters when he was on screen. It's kind of like you don't know what he's going to do, and he was good and bad at times.
Had a love-hate relationship with humanity.
Yeah.
Going on. Wow. I guess if we back up, did you have any sci-fi or science fiction influences growing up?
Not really. I mean, I watched Star Trek. You know, I loved Star Trek when I was a kid. But no, and I never, as an actor, I never worked in sci-fi before Stargate. I had no idea they had conventions. I had no idea this kind of stuff went on at all.
Well, you were on a soap. Was it a soap opera?
I was on a soap opera in South Africa for 6 years, where we used to do appearances, and same thing, 20,000 people, because, you know, soap opera fans are crazy as well.
True.
Yeah, but I had no idea that, you know, people got dressed up and came to conventions and saw the actors and that kind of thing. So it was a nice surprise. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Right.
Phenomenal.
Right. That's sort of following. How did you end up landing the gig at Stargate?
What they did, they called me, and I happened to meet Michael Greenberg, the producer at that time, and they called me in to read for a character. Baal hadn't been created. They said they are thinking of bringing in this new character. They didn't give me names or anything, but they just wanted to hear me read a part. And I read for it, and I didn't hear from them for like 2 or 3 months, and then the next minute they created Baal for me.
Right, so basically...
Right for me, they knew who I was, what I sounded like, and so from day one, that was my character, and it was great. And the first episode, I think it was called Summit, where we had a whole group of the System Lords together. That was kind of like an audition scene. They wanted to see which of the System Lords they were going to keep. They wanted to see how I performed, and that was with Osiris, and she walked in, and being this tall, beautiful woman, and I decided from that second that this is how I was going to play Baal, and I slouched down in my seat because all the other System Lords were very stiff and trying to be bad.
So more cavalier.
Yeah, and I slouched down.
You had nothing to prove. I mean, you're a Baal. I mean,
right, and I looked her up and down. You know, she's got legs that come all the way up to my head. And I looked at her, and it just worked. You know, it worked for the character, and I had a little smile on my face, and they loved that. Yeah, so from that day, they were like, okay, that's an interesting character.
And that was really the idea behind, Ball's character throughout the show. Then.
Yeah.
It was kind of...
Yeah, it developed from there, and the writers started to write for me. They started to write more humorous lines and make him more three-dimensional, like I always say, make him more human-like. Play him as a human, but even though he's not.
Now, did you actually make a move to Canada, or were you still living in South Africa and just flying up when you had your
No, I've been living in LA for 11 years.
Okay.
So, but I used to live. I used to fly up from LA to Vancouver.
Okay.
I never actually lived in Vancouver.
Yeah, because you weren't on every single episode.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to have been. If I would definitely have moved to Vancouver if they wanted me regular cast.
So you go, your early career, though, really is, you're a male model first, right? You go from a male model to being a god. Is there much of a difference? I mean, honestly.
No, there's no difference at all. Financially, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a professional dancer for many years, and then I started to move more into modeling because of my dance background. And then I decided, I said there was a certain age when I had to stop all that. It's a very short-lived career.
Wow.
And then I went to study drama, and I decided acting is what I wanted to do, and I had to transition out of being the model dancer to becoming taken seriously as an actor, not just this wannabe actor who's a model. And then eventually that happened, but it took years. It took years.
You got started out on stage, if I remember correctly?
Yeah.
What kind of plays were you doing?
Well, I worked mainly, I did a few plays in South Africa, but then I worked mainly in big shows, cabaret shows, like the Las Vegas shows.
Okay.
And the highlight where I always wanted to work was at the Moulin Rouge in Paris, where I became principal there for a year, which was great. That was a highlight of my life, yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
That's great.
Do you still do any stage acting?
No, unfortunately not. I would love to, but Los Angeles, it's not the place for stage work at all. But I would love to do more theater, if I could.
What's it like playing yourself 4 or 5 times on the same screen? Like you had all these doubles and more than doubles, you had all these clones of you running around.
Yeah, we had 22. It was interesting. I've done green screen work before, but not to this extent, where in one scene the camera is all controlled by computer, so the camera moves exactly the same time every single take. There's no human error. So you as the actor have to move and do exactly the same or the right thing every single take you do. So I would stand in one spot, they'd shoot the scene, I would move to the next spot, and they would shoot the scene and move to the next spot. And the camera's doing exactly the same thing every time, but I'm the one moving around. Instead of kind of like the other way around, where the camera's moving positions and the actor's staying in one place. So it was kind of interesting. And I try to make each clone slightly different.
Right.
That's a lot of mental
and the clones
multitasking.
have to be aware of each other, so you're looking at where you were standing or where you are going to be standing.
Yeah, and if you're walking around behind yourself, you've got to be aware that you've got to give room, otherwise you're going to walk through yourself. When they actually do the overlap, you're going to see you can't have, obviously, a body going through another body.
Right.
There was a lot of work to it. That episode, I think, we finished at 4 a.m. in the morning, which has never happened in Stargate.
You earned your paycheck
That's
that
shooting
day.
from like 9 in the morning till 4 a.m. the next morning.
Oh, man.
And no, the paycheck stays the same. And I didn't get 22 checks, which is unfortunate.
You were on there 22 times, right?
I was playing 22 characters, right?
I know. Well, they should compensate for that.
Exactly.
I still remember that scene. It's like an apartment. It's like an apartment or a room where you have all these clones standing around.
That one scene, yeah. Yeah, it was funny.
It's one of the...
Pouring drinks for myself. There was the one scene where I actually walked in, it was my idea, and it just worked. I was lucky because the shot alone cost like $30,000 just to do that shot, so I couldn't mess it up.
Right.
And I said, I have to touch one of the clones. They have to touch each other. So the one scene where I walked in and I put my arm on the shoulder of the other guy, and it just worked perfectly. One take. It was brilliant. They showed me as we finished shooting that scene, I watched the playback and they overlapped it, and it was just perfect. Because I kind of knew my heights.
Okay.
So I walked in and I was like, blah, 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 blah.
But there's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
No body doubles?
Nothing.
Wow.
Empty space. And if it's like an inch lower, I would have been inside his body, or higher, you would have seen it. So, very interesting.
What was your favorite thing about playing ball?
I just loved the character, and I loved the freedom that I had with the character. Nobody ever once came and told me how to play the character. And that's where you see good directors. They don't tell you how to play a character, they direct you. Show me where to move, show me where to sit.
You trust your instinct.
Right. And that, I think, was the best thing about, actually, as a whole, just working with the whole Stargate crowd, was the freedom I had with the character. But I loved his outfits. I loved his costumes, man.
There were some good costumes.
I must say, just amongst the fans, that was the biggest thing amongst them, is the costumes that the character wore were just phenomenal, and they were. Everything was tailor-made for me. When there was leather, when I had to wear any kind of leather, it was real Italian leather. Everything was... Nothing was fake. Nothing was fake. It was amazing.
You got a cool logo that represents you.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
He got a whiskey flask earlier. You won't be able to see this on the podcast, but he didn't see it.
Yeah, it was an old friend of mine. She actually used to work security for me a lot of times at conventions, and she sent this for me, which is just phenomenal. I mean,
that's nice.
That rocks.
Mm-hmm.
It's so nice. That's I mean, his emblem is just so cool. It's a good tattoo.
that would be a good tattoo.
Yeah. Do you have a tattoo of that anywhere?
No, I don't. But I do have a great motorcycle that I was thinking of putting that on the tag.
That would be great for that.
Just for fun.
Now, Christopher Judge said the set of SG-1 tended to be very loose and fun. And, I mean, that's not your character. Your character is very serious, regal, and stoic, and cavalier. Yeah. How did you find working on the set of SG-2?
You know what? It was very loose and fun, like he says, but I always stayed out of that. And I tend to, when I'm on set, I spend a lot of time on my own. I don't, not that I'm unfriendly, but I don't, because of the character as well and the character I'm playing, I can't mess around with like Chris and Michael Shanks and all of them at lunchtime and then the next minute be inside the studio being Ball. It's very difficult. So like lunchtimes, that kind of thing, I wouldn't really hang out with the other actors. I would be in my trailer on my own. And I'd have to stay in that state of mind, the whole day.
And it would help you focus the character.
And Chris, of course, I mean, he was the big joker on set, which is great. You need that because he kept it light. Especially, you've been shooting for 14 hours. You need somebody to make a joke.
4 a.m. in the morning, right?
Yeah. But I used that, like that kind of, any kind of irritation I had or frustrations or tiredness, I used that in the character because that's who he was, especially if he was, you saw at times when he would torture people, he'd be having fun, he'd be smiling, but at other times he'd be pissed off with everyone, so I kind of used that,
Of the episodes that you did, what was your favorite episode?
You know what,
obviously you like playing character involved.
Yeah. I mean, Abyss was, I know amongst the fans, Abyss was one of the most popular episodes. I loved that episode because that was the first time I got to meet O'Neill as Ball and torture him, which was fantastic because that kind of set the tone between us. And then we started, that's where the little banter between us, the joking, that's where I saw what Richard, as O'Neill, what he was all about. And that's where it started, right from there. And that developed into us, this little banter right throughout the whole series. We had these funny little comments at each other the whole time. Abyss was great. It's been, the episode with all the clones was amazing for me as an actor, technically, to learn all that. It was great. That was really cool for me. And then I kind of look at Continuum as a huge episode. And that was my favorite episode.
Which episode?
Continuum, the movie.
Okay, yeah.
I look at it as a big episode.
Well, it is. It's a huge episode.
Yeah, and so that was the highlight. It really was.
Go back in time.
Yeah, and Ball was he was featured. He was a big deal.
Oh yeah, great. He was the villain. In that episode.
Yeah,
you haven't seen that yet.
No, I'm a new fan of Stargate. I used to watch a lot of Star Trek.
Right.
But for the past, I started watching Stargate Universe, and now no more. So I decided to go back, and I've up to season 5. Right. I did watch some because I wanted to see your work. And so, I'm hooked. I'm loving it. And
that's great, man. Yeah, Ball. Ball comes into his own from season 5 up. Season 9 I think was Ball's biggest season, and then the movie. But yeah, I started season 5 and went through to 10. So.
How many episodes were you in total? Do you know?
No, I think 27, 26, something like that. Yeah. And it was great. I mean, I loved going up to Vancouver. It was such a nice break for me, and just to go up there and work and stay in the hotel, and it was great. I love Vancouver. The city itself is nice.
Any what do you have coming up in the future?
At the moment, I'm not up for anything, but I'm producing. I have 2 projects I'm producing, and I'm up for a role in another werewolf. It's a sci-fi werewolf movie.
Okay.
It was called Werewolf Reloaded, but now it's been renamed to Werewolf in Space. Okay. It's a great commercial sci-fi movie. It's fantastic. We're waiting on funding for that, which we should be getting soon.
Okay.
If that works very well, the same financiers want to finance my show, which I have 2 partners on, called Dust, which is a sci-fi western.
Okay.
So we're hoping Cowboys and Aliens does very well, because if it does well, it's not exact. It's different to what we're doing. Ours is based on steampunk, the whole steampunk vibe. It's fantastic. It really is a great show. It's called Dust, and I'm the lead in that, but I'm producing that as well. And then I also have the life rights to an African American athlete who is a swimmer, and he was the first African American to swim the English Channel. And that, hopefully, we have the funding coming in at the end of July. So I'm producing that. I've written myself into a little role as an FBI agent in it. But it's a great story. It's a true life story. It's going to be a movie. It's going to be a magical movie, magical sports movie. So, and that's my big project. That's a big deal.
So you have a lot on your plate then.
Yeah.
Not just acting, but producing. That's
Yeah, the producing side is more what I'd like to do. The acting side eventually is going to come to an end, and it slows down. It starts to slow down, and you want to move on and get involved more on the business side of things, which is what a producer does. That's what it is.
Right.
What kind of movies do you hope to continue to produce, or shows?
You know what? I love sports movies, and definitely true life stuff.
Okay.
True life stories for me are phenomenal, and I know everyone loves them, and that's what people watch, and it's what I watch. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like that old, I want to produce what I like and what I like to watch. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that old saying, if you're buying a property, don't buy a property if you won't live in it yourself. Like a pub.
And I think humanity at our juncture where we're at as a society needs these stories of hope.
Yeah.
Needs these stories of success, because we're in such a time where, financially there's a lot of questions and job market route, and we need these stories.
And uplifting, and to know that everybody's going through these things, and people that have been through very, very tough times or very tragic times have overcome it.
So you want to inspire people.
Yeah, like my movie, The Black Butterfly, it's very inspirational. It's about a guy, he went to prison, he found redemption, he got out, and you can do it, It's about not giving up.
Is that a movie that you produced?
Yeah, I've written it as well, and it will be rewritten, but I've written the initial script. And I've got the life rights to him. So, and he's a boy, he lives here in New Jersey, he's still alive, which is going to be fantastic. Yeah, he'll be in the background somewhere as a little thing.
A little extra or something there. Yeah. Any other questions?
No, I think we're good.
No, thank you so much
for
sitting down with us.
You're welcome. Enjoy the weekend.
Well, we hope you enjoyed our interview with Cliff Simon. Mm-hmm. Before we go, we have Sci-Fi 5 and 5, and what a better way to take it out than to hear from Mary as she talks about her Sci-Fi 5 and 5 from VegasCon. Before you go, can you give us your top 5 moments from VegasCon this year?
Sure. I guess I'll start with being interviewed by William Shatner and seeing him run around with his crew. He was there the whole time. Usually William Shatner is in and out on the day that he's talking on stage. But this year he was an active part of the convention. He seemed really happy, and he's genuinely directing Fan Addicts. Like, I can tell you personally that he was like, this is the shot that I want. Here's what the discussion is, and go. And he's super active and super involved. And it's really, I'm really happy to see him embracing the fan base, because I kind of felt like he was embarrassed of Star Trek for a lot of years. And now I think he finally gets it. So that really made me happy. Mm-hmm. Another highlight for me was actually moderating my first panel. I've been on panels before, but being the moderator of a panel was a lot of fun. And the Geek Girls panel was my first. So, you always remember your first. And I hope there'll be more to come of that. I definitely think there's a lot more room for discussion. It was really great to have people come up to me afterwards and say it was their favorite panel, and they hope we do it again. Another highlight for me was definitely seeing the two Sulus on stage. George Takei is always a fan favorite, and seeing him with John Cho and passing the torch was definitely really, really cool. And one of my favorite moments of the con is always seeing all the cool new products. And John Van Sitters from CBS Licensing had lots of cool things like the Star Trek Monopoly, that's the Klingon version. He had that, and he had a lot of interesting new products like the 360 book for TNG that's coming out, and a lot of new props and things like that. So it's always great to get the advanced look on what's coming out in terms of CBS licensing products. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, saying goodbye to Leonard Nimoy. I wish I could see him at the Chicago Con. That's the official goodbye. But this was, probably the biggest goodbye, since the Vegas Con is a larger con. And it really touched me and got me choked up as he kind of lost it on stage. And I hope to see more from him as an artist. I know he's really into his photography, and I wish him all the best. So, awesome. As he says, live long and prosper.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Mary, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight, and sharing your opinions about some of the things that are up and coming for both DVDs, for movies, and for television. And appreciate you talking about Make Me Dinner and also about Vegas Con.
Oh, no problem. I'd love to be back again, and I wish you guys the best of luck, and thanks for having me.
Yeah. It was a delight.
Yeah, it was absolutely a delight. It was a pleasure to have you here on the show.
Awesome. Well, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, hey, we'll let you know when this comes out then.
Please do. All right.
We'll catch you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Mary. Well, it was good to have Mary in the show, wasn't it?
It was. It's been too long since we had her on.
It's been way too long. I bet it's been almost 50 episodes.
I'm not sure, but
it's been quite some time.
We got to make sure it's not another 50 more episodes.
Yeah, we definitely do. We definitely have Larry. We need to put Larry in the rotation. Yes. We need to put her, and it's all good.
Or both of them together. I mean, that would be
that would be a blast.
That'd be
especially
a heck of a
since
podcast.
they know each other.
They know each other, and I think it would just be
a
major podcast.
It's definitely good. Well, we are very grateful that you, our listeners, joined us tonight for this podcast. We've had an excellent time just talking about science fiction, and we want to invite you to come join our conversation. You can do that by writing it at the Sci-Fi Diner Podcast at gmail.com or calling us on our listener feedback line at 1-888-508-4343. Nearly forgot the number there. And, you can comment on any of the news items we brought up, anything that we said, anything Mary said. And I'm sure that if you have something directly geared toward Mary, that we could get Mary to actually respond to that.
And I'm sure she'd appreciate it if you go to the Make Me a Daner Facebook page if you would like that.
I always want to say Make Me Diener.
That's how I said it first, but I guess it's pronounced Daner.
Right. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's depending if you're from the East Coast or West Coast. I don't know.
Way.
Whatever. Either way, however you pronounce it.
But like her Facebook page, you'll
definitely like her Facebook page and check her out. Check out not Fearless Raiders. Check out DVDgeeks.tv and some of the DVD reviews that she has coming out.
Right. That's a great podcast too.
It definitely is. Well, Miles, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
It's a pleasure as always.
And I guess we should wrap up the show.
So till next time, good night and good luck.
We'll see ya.